You're going to love this first interview. Take a few minutes, find out about a framing company doing $20 million and some of the things they're up against.
Myself and two of my brothers that are partners on it. I started it myself, and I was in it for 4 years, and then I partnered up with them two, and I'm business development and founder. One of my brothers is CEO, and the other one is COO. So,
nice. And with that, about what size is the company? How many employees?
we're 50 to 100. Because in the commercial framing, then the majority of it is piece rate. So they come and go when you have jobs.
Right.
That's why it's such a. We have 25 solid management office, all pickup crews, and then the rest are piece rate crews that come in. Yeah, and it's the piece rate that the Hispanic you're going against their wishes when you try to employ them, and so it's like twice as emotional. They're twice emotional employees when you're trying to treat them like a normal employee. But when you let them be them and come in as piece rate, work as many hours as they want, and all that stuff, like it's easy. It's easy. You just got to pay. You just got to pay them. It's good.
And how long ago did you establish the business?
2017.
2017. That was a rough time, right? Come right into COVID, not but a few years into after starting it.
Our market wasn't affected by COVID much. Like I kept my biggest year was 2021, a year after COVID. So and 2020, the year of COVID, wasn't bad at all.
Got it.
You don't get that.
It's not the same. It's not the same world. So where's the accent from? I gotta ask.
I'm born and raised in southern Utah.
Really?
I get that a lot. Yeah.
Man, you could be from Alabama. You got a good accent.
That's what I get, but
yeah, it's awesome. Because I lived in California most of my life, but we've relocated to North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, it's been a good move.
You like the green over there?
I love it. And to be truthful, to where we ended up, there's a lot of rain, but it's usually for an hour a day, and then the rest of the day is gorgeous. And we don't have much humidity, not much for bugs. In all reality, the weather here is almost as good as it was, if not better, when I lived in Santa Barbara. And Santa Barbara's gorgeous.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would love to have a second house over there that I Airbnb'd and viewed when I want, or visited when I wanted. It'd be fun.
Well, property's still reasonable over here.
That's one thing I've been noticing, because my scrolling habit is scrolling Zillow and Facebook Marketplace. And so, like, that's what I've been seeing, is it's good pricing over there. Like,
no, even though the pricing has gone up a lot over the last 2 years since we started our look, I mean, you still can find a nice house on 5 acres for $350,000.
Yeah.
Very reasonable. Whereas before, if you could come into it 3 years ago, you could have found it for $150,000.
Oh, I know, it's nuts.
I know, it's gone up.
I have a friend that used to live in San Diego. She just moved back to Tennessee, just about an hour south of Nashville.
Right.
And there's houses there that they're older. I could fix up an Airbnb for $175,000 on 5 acres.
Easy. Yep. Yeah. And Tennessee's it's right close across the border. But Nashville's probably 3 hours, 2.5 hours from here. It's a nice thing about being over here. Everything's close.
Yeah.
I can be in Florida sitting on the beach in 6 hours. I can be in New York City in 8. I can be on the beach in Outer Banks. I can be in Nashville in 3. I mean, that's kind of
over here. It's like I'm in Washington, Utah, which is a suburb of St. George, southern Utah. Like, we're 2.5 hours to Vegas, but that's the closest big city. Like, LA's 5 hours, Salt Lake City's 4 hours, and so It really is in the middle of nowhere.
What's that? Usually, I try to gear the conversation around finance, technology, or employee issues. Which one of those three does it seem to is affecting your business the most?
I'm not I'm as proficient in technology and AI as a founder can be.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is I don't have the patience to go into every little detail. But I'm proficient in that. I know its capacity. I feel like when I compare myself to my competitors and friends in that, I use technology. I'm running. We'll do $18 million this year, and there's 4 people in my office,
Right.
and
Perfect.
2 of those are salespeople. Like so, and the reason why I'm able to do that is technology. Um, and so I'm pretty good at that. The finance, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't figure out the financial side, the cash flow wise, and all that. The employee, we just haven't had a problem there. So like I'm either looking to give my experience to someone or learn from someone that has that will take my ideas and blow them apart. So honestly, it's your choice. Whatever you want to do.
Well, why don't we focus on the financial aspect?
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, I think what I'm gonna my questions, and I'll just walk you through basically the outline is basically what kind of challenges do you see that are coming into the market in the next 6 to 12 months? Um, what kind of shifts do you see in the market in your industry, within the industry, as far as how things are changing, evolving?
Mm-hmm.
Um, things that you've done within your business, how it's impacted your business in your growth strategies, how you've made adjustments, and then what you see continuing to evolve within your industry as far as finance is concerned, how it's going to make projects easier, more difficult, all that kind of stuff. Because that's a key subject
Yeah.
with everybody. Is the market for a while, money was super tight. Nobody wanted to finance projects. It was difficult to get banks to give you the loans. Money was just harder to get than it had been. Things seem to be freeing up on some levels for some people, for others not. Managing cash flow, all that kind of stuff has been a common problem that everybody seems to see within the market.
Yeah, and over the next 6 months, we're gonna see those that don't have cash reserves, that don't have the ability to get cash when they need, they're gonna go out of business.
Yep.
And
Yep.
us that do have the cash, and I'm not saying cash flow intentionally, because one of the problems with subcontractors in particularly is we feel like as a general rule is if we're if we're low on cash, we just need to get another job. I mean, we don't focus on the profitability of that job. We just need that other job, and that will create cash flow and keep our lights on. We can keep robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and it's eventually like in this market where it's so low of margins, regard whatever you get
Right.
because of that trend, you're going to be out of business if you get too many of those jobs that just drain you. So cash flow to me is not king in construction.
Yeah.
Cash
Well,
is.
and metrics, the metrics that you use within the business, how you track that and you keep on top of profitability and all that stuff, that's a great discussion. Because you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of the contractors and people that I talk to on a regular basis, they have no clue.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's money in the bank, they feel like they're doing good, but they don't know how to manage that in relationship to what's coming up over the next 6 months, over what they've already paid out. And their
Yeah.
tracking of that is awful.
Yeah, and I mean that's key to. I mean, you said it yourself. That's key to the success of your survival. Is it's. I'll give one scenario. So we had 5 big jobs going on over the last 12 months, and we had one who was just it was a tough job, and we projected about 10 to 15% profit margins, and everything that comes in after everything goes through and comes in, we're sitting at about five and a half, 6, and but that's actual net. That's after
Right.
overhead and everything. And one of my accountants, who isn't with me anymore, he came in and he says, "Dude, we lost money on Residence Inn." And I'm like, "No, we didn't. I mean, our profit was not where we wanted to be, but we didn't lose money." And he's like, "Whatever, because look at our overhead. Our overhead was this much throughout that job." I'm like, "Okay, but did you split the overhead up and job cost it to that job? Or are you
Right.
putting all the burden of our overhead on that one job?" Because our capacity, our overhead could supply about $30 million worth of revenue a year right now. And so we are losing money because we're in a position to be able to do more on it on a moment's notice. Anyway, so it's the ability to be able to track, okay, what is the burden on that job? And one job should not um, dictate your overhead shouldn't be off of one job. It should be
Right.
your percentage of overhead should be on what you could do, and that's how I feel. And our margins are lower because we have bigger overhead, but it's worth it to me. It's worth it to me because
Yeah.
one of the things I've learned in business is it's all about being able to say yes when the opportunity jumps.
Yep. No, 100%. Being prepared and ready for the opportunity is huge. Because yeah, most people don't put themselves in a position where they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's most people are just in the moment, like what's going on today. For me, I uh, I went to three large contractors before I started Tecton myself, and every one of them has done very well for themselves. And the one constant on all three of those was they was ready to say yes when the opportunity jumped.
Yeah.
They were small and then they jumped big because they were ready. And so that's been one of the focuses here at Tecton is, are we ready to say yes?
It's funny, right? And the guy that I'm mentoring, who's taking over, who bought my business,
Mm-hmm.
we talk weekly, and he's hesitant. He's new. He's buying in. It's kind of a big deal for him, and these big projects come through, and he's scared. First inclination is to turn it down and go, "Ah, we got too much work." I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not how this works. You got to put
Yeah.
yourself in a. It doesn't matter. You get the phone call, you better take it because you won't get it twice.
No, no,
Um,
and you won't get it twice, and that opportunity's gone, and that's the problem. If it's an inbound lead, you gotta snatch that up. I don't care how big, how small, because
yep.
those are going to be the most profitable. If they
Yeah.
picked up the phone to call you and you don't land it, you're done.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I was like, how did you get the call? The call is from a contact that I've developed over the past 10 years, and
Yep.
she calls us with all of her stuff. So you turn down one, just know you're losing the client. That's gonna, anyways. It's
Yep.
very true. That's how that goes. Well, what I'll do is I'm just gonna kind of pause and do a quick introduction, and then go into some questions. And I prefer when the conversation is just very fluid. So,
Oh, I was thinking we're already going like that.
oh, we
I
are.
mean,
I'm just gonna do a quick introduction. That way, I make sure I have it, that I can splice it out as needed.
because the flow was
Uh,
great. Or do you want me to repeat some of the stuff I go, or is
Feel
what
free
we've
to
already
accept.
recorded going in?
I got a tech VA that's great at pulling it all apart, so don't
All
stress it.
right, perfect.
Uh, all right, Nathan. We got Nathan with Carlisle with Tecton Construction, and
Yep.
we've just been talking a little bit about what's going on in your business and some of the things that you're up against. And so I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the challenges that you see on the market in the industry, specifically some of the financial challenges that we're dealing with, and kind of give us some insight on to what you're dealing with it within the business, but then how you're dealing with those issues. So
Yeah.
fire away.
One of the biggest things we're dealing with, and it's a polar opposite of what it was a year and a half ago, is and I love to use analogies and experiences for my points, and that is today we have about 15, an average of 15 competitors bidding on one job, where a year and a half ago it was four or five, and that was on the high end. And one of the biggest and the most prominent thing that does is it just drives the market down like crazy. Everybody's desperate, and it's a
Where are
race
they
to the
coming
bottom.
from? Because businesses on your side level don't just come out of nowhere. So where are they coming from? Why do we have you have so much more competition now?
So there's the problem with the framing industry, and it's different than a lot of the other industries. Is it doesn't take a lot to get started. If you had 50 grand, you could get started, and you could go cash flow a $500,000 job just fine. And so it's during the boom, we didn't have enough framers here in Utah and in the Western United States. And so it was anybody that said they could do it could do it. And so now all those little companies had a little taste of the big commercial money making and all that. And so now they just want to keep in it instead of going back to their house building. And house building's actually not going very much right now. If anybody says house building's going, they're lying. It's not.
No, it's changed. I agree with
Yeah,
you there.
it's not at all. And so we have a lot of small framers coming and trying to do the big stuff because there's more big stuff revenue wise going in the state of Utah than there is little stuff. And so that's the competitor side. But it doesn't, the GCs and the owners, they don't vet people that are bidding on the masses. You get the big GCs like the Turner, the Big D, the Layton, and that. They bet, they don't let you bid unless you're approved. But most of the other people don't. And so if you say you can do it, you're a bidder and you entered the competition. And so like it just drives the market down. Like us, I have a couple competitors that during COVID and between 2019 and 2022, they invested $10 million in prefab offsite construction. I had the opportunity to buy a truss company, and I chose not to because I felt like this day was coming, and I didn't want that overhead strapped.
Right.
So the reason why I bring that up is we have the big guys that need cash flow, and like we were talking, cash flow is it's good, but it can be a killer for people in construction. But cash is king. We got these big guys that are desperate because they need that cash flow to keep paying their mortgages, their loans for their huge investments in the off-site construction, which, by the way, ain't going anywhere until the architect and engineer gets on board. Off-site construction is a fluke until the engineer and architect get on board. It just costs more money for the subs. And then you got these little guys that just think, well, I'm not busy in residential, so let's go bid what is going on, and it just drives the market down. It's crazy.
So how has that kind of impacted the business, your growth strategy, your plan for improving your business? Those trends, how are they affecting you, and what have you come up with to get around it?
So that I've been in the business for 12, 15, 12 was 2013 was when I started framing. And so I've been in the business for 12 years. And I started Tecton in 2017. So my relationships in the industry go deep. And so I'm not always at the race to the bottom. I'm a preferred sub to some big GCs. And so I don't deal with the race to the bottom as much on a few of the jobs. But then on the big jobs, you can't, the owners aren't going to let you. If the owner is getting a GC, they're going to force that GC to get the best price. Today's market with market interest rates up and everything, they're going to force that GC to go to the bottom.
Yeah,
So
there's no
point
way
is,
around it.
I probably have 30% of my work that's good, profitable, like happily profitable, and the rest I just pick and choose who I want to go to the bottom with. And I have two or three GCs that I'll do it for their best price because I know that they're there for me if it's too much. If I need their help, they're there for me. We have that relationship that goes deep. Um, but so almost cost plus 5%. And one thing we're on the subject of commercial is we deal with retention in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've stuck to since Tecton's inception was I do not consider retention as profit. So
Part of the cost of doing business.
yeah, I mean, retention. You're not going to get retention for a year plus out of some of these jobs. So you need to be able, if you consider that part of profit, it's just like you're cash flowing and paying out for up to a year until you get that retention.
Which
So,
is just that'll kill somebody.
oh yeah, and it will. So, and I think that's part of the biggest reasons that these subcontractors are so liable to go under is because they consider that retention as part of their profitability, and then they don't pull it out when they look at their P&L statement, and so they think they're doing good. But the truth of it is they're not going to receive 5 to 10% where whatever state you're working in. They're not going to see 5 to 10% of that revenue for a year and a half, and it's going to take them out. And that's why I say cash is king in construction. Cash flow is a killer. It gives you a false hope of profitability.
Yeah, no, 100%. So if I was to summarize that, basically monopolizing off of some really good contacts that you have within the industry, and then making sure that when you pick new business that comes through the door, that you're making sure that that's profitable.
Yeah,
Key.
I mean, I for someone like my ambitions are big, and so I don't want to retract. Even though some would say the smart thing would be to retract, let the people go out of business, and then come back in. I'm too ambitious. My desire to be big and go big is too big. So I'd rather turn to lines of credits or to my savings account and that than to go under. So I'm simply saying, like, we have what I would call 5% work, 5% margin work. We'll do 50% of our revenue will be 5% work. And then the rest, the other 50% will be 20 or 25% work. And that's how I keep it going. And we just have to hold that line.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit before we started the podcast on metrics, on kind of the things that you handle within the office, within your business, to gauge whether you're doing a good job, the kind of dollars that you need to have, kind of in the bank to be able to continue to operate, how you track whether your sales are good, they're bad, your job profitability. What kind of metrics have you worked into your business to keep you kind of right on the edge of what's happening and what's going on and keep you profitable?
You need the simple metrics is you need 10% cash, like free cash. Or not necessarily free, but you need 10% cash for however much you have in contract. So if you have $5 million contract, which our average is 3.5, so 5 million isn't that much. You need 500 grand cash, and we follow that pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, on new sales, do you have sales representatives within the business, or is that mainly down to you or one of the partners?
So I have a COO and a CEO, and they don't do anything with sales, and I'm business development and founder, so chairman of the board, and then business development, and then I have one salesperson underneath me.
Got it. And how do you keep track of them and making sure that that sales rep is doing their job, that they're on top of it?
It's all on a CRM. It's all technology,
Nice.
and so I can check them. I can check whatever they're doing. I see how much time they're spending in getting accurate bids. I just, I wouldn't call myself a micromanager. I trust and I verify hourly almost. I'm very particular about not sending bids out that I don't agree with the price.
Now, it brings up a really kind of sub question. What programs are you using within the business that you found helpful? Is like Procore, is that relevant to you, or Stack, or what kind of tools that you're
Procore's way
using?
overpriced. Procore's way overpriced for subcontractors. I semi get it with general contractors, but as a subcontractor, like I'm doing 20 million a year, and I've never needed Procore. But I do my estimating and sales pro. I have two different ones, and it boggles my mind that someone doesn't do it in one. And I think Procore's trying it, but I don't like their takeoff system. But anyways, I have Stack
Mm-hmm.
takeoff,
Yep.
and I have follow up CRM, and they
Follow
do
up
real
CRM.
follow up CRM does really good in construction. They're new, so they're frustrating on speed and that, but they have a good system that flows with construction. And I'm not going to spend my time bragging about them because I
No,
believe in.
no, no. That's all good. I just it's there seems to be a common trend. I bring up Procore because Procore, their campus was in Carpinteria where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I have friends that work for them, but I'm on the same page. I ran a large construction company, custom homes. I could never afford to use their program. I always figured out other ways to do the same stuff with other programs. But Stack is a common that I hear everybody's using, different ones. So it's just helpful. Everybody's looking for what's the program that's working the best to be able to keep on top of everything.
I would simply say Stack, and I'm not getting benefited by bringing them up so much, but I am on the board on their list of trying out and giving them feedback on the new opportunities. I can tell you they're going to be coming out with some great things.
Awesome.
Obviously, can't talk about it, but they're going to be coming out with some great things that integrate AI. If they do what they told me they're going to do, and so
Yeah,
that's going to be really fun.
yeah. No, they're going to figure out ways. All these companies are they're going to figure out a way to incorporate AI because it is definitely the next edge. There's no doubt about that.
You can go
Um,
down that rabbit hole. I think that I the problem with AI is it like with plans is it needs to learn. It needs to learn based on that one set of plans because all the plans are so different.
yeah,
Like it's unless there was one architect and one engineer in the world, then you can't train a model on these plans. You unless it's particularly on one set by itself.
so I'll tell you my personal opinion. I think at some point CAD is going to figure out how to integrate AI into their design system. So there's going to be some universal acceptance of how things need to be drawn, engineered, etc., so that it's easier for AI to be able to then read, do takeoffs, all that stuff. The day's
That's
coming at some
essentially
point.
That's essentially what I mean by getting the architect and engineer involved
Right,
with AI in the beginning. Because until like if you look at standard threads in America,
right.
they're like there's like five different threads, and I'm talking about nuts and bolts and that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until that's how it is in the architect and engineer, the AI can only assist you. It cannot do stuff for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, you can't take away the
Referring to
human factor
plans.
for sure. Yeah. So if you were to look at your business and project forward on where you want to be in the next 6, 12 months, where do you see yourself? What are your goals for the business?
I'm in business, we all want to go like this, right? We all just want to hike. But we got to be aware and smart enough to know when this and maybe just a little bit of incline is fine
Mm-hmm.
and actually the smart thing to do. And I feel like over the next 12 to 24 months, maybe a 5 to 10% incline or maybe 4 to 5% incline is good. But
Yeah,
trying to double your business in such a market like this, I just pray to God all my competition try to do that. I pray
yeah,
to God they
yeah.
do because then they're not going to be here in
So
12 months.
the current market that we're dealing with, do you see that happening or continuing for a 6 month period, 12 month period? How long do you think we're going to be in this kind of stagnant in between period before
I
we
think
start
this
seeing explosive growth again?
I think this time next year, then people are going to start closing loans. The interest rates will be down enough that they can start closing these big commercial loans to build the multifamily and that again. And I think it's going to take that long for interest rates to come down. So Trump gets his new Fed chair
Yeah.
is it May
Yeah.
or
I think
somewhere
it's
around
May.
there, and that's actually when the Fed's going to start supporting an inflated market and start inflating the market again. I'm not in favor of interest rates coming down because, and here's why. The wage rate is so low compared to inflation and compared to how expensive things are. And if the rate comes down too fast and doesn't give time for wages to come up to meet how expensive things are right now, it's gonna drive the mid tier people, the $100,000 or less salary guys into more poverty. Like we need that wage rate to catch up with how expensive things are. And if interest rates come down, things are going to skyrocket some more. They're going to
Yeah.
become more expensive.
Yeah. No, the reality is $100,000 really should be where median is.
Yeah,
As that's with the cost of living, it's really
but
hard.
but wouldn't you agree? If interest rates come down too much,
Yeah.
that's just going to send like that's going to be an artificial inflation of what people think they can sell and buy and everything. It's just going to drive us more in the hole.
Yeah. No, 100%. If you had a magic wand and you were able to change anything about the current industry, the business, your personal business, and things that maybe you can't change now, they're not tangible. What would that be?
Two things. I want our industry to know their numbers before and after the job. Like, don't just throw a square foot number out there because you think that's what you can do it for. Because I mean, it's there's jobs are so much from one job to the next. On average, you have a 5 to 10% cost differential on just the material, how much it takes to, because of the structural engineer requirements or the architect requirements. And the problem with our market is they just throw out, oh, that past job we did for 1750 a square foot. This job we can do 1750 a square foot. And estimating is such a pain in the ass in the commercial industry because
Yeah.
estimators, I mean, they cost a lot of money. Like if you're paying somebody to sit on their ass all day, every day, and estimate a job, they want money for it. And so we try to just throw out budget numbers instead of paying for the real deal. And this is honestly where technology can come into play, and it has done it for us. We're accurately bidding $5 million jobs in 6 hours, which is unheard of in my competitions. Like, and it's accurate. We've tested
Wow.
and proved it. Anyway, so the one is know your numbers pre-bid. Number two, know your numbers after the job's done. Actually know your numbers, because I would bet a lot of money on the fact that 90% of subcontractors don't know their numbers.
No, I'd be right there with you. I agree
And,
100%.
and that's what's killing. That's the roots of the problem of the race to the bottom right there.
Yeah. So, do you see things coming within the market that are going to assist in that change, where people, because this has been a common thread for me for years, that contractors really don't understand what's going on within their business, and I kind of feel like there's things happening within the market that give them the tools finally. Is there anything specifically that you see that's going to make a change or help make that change?
Yeah, people going out of business. The problem with our industry is we're very proud, and rightfully so. We build the damn nation. We should be proud of our efforts. We should be proud of what we put out there. But we let our ego of what we do cloud of what we could do.
Yeah.
And what we could do with implementing tools and technology on the back end of each one of our subcontracting businesses is we could become more accurate, predict better, know that we can't go buy that $150,000 truck because we think we got a down payment worth of cash in the bank. And it pains me to see all these subcontractors with these big, nice new trucks. It's just like you don't have the money for that. I know where the market is. You're driving yourself out of business. Like, and so I just don't see it happening until people are starting to go out of business, and the realization of the reason why they're going out of business is because they don't know their numbers. And I just think we're too proud to humble down and let technology come into construction, at least the subcontracting. Now, the GC and the general contracting, they're too scrutinized by the big developers, by the owners. I think they're being forced to use technology because of that, but subcontractors aren't scrutinized that way. And until they realize it, I don't think it'll change.
And then just a side note, kind of summary wrap up. It's interesting to me, for years, the push has been for people to go to college to get technology degrees, to get doctorates, to get all, not a lot of focus on trades. Do you think that's a smart move, wise move? What would you say to somebody who's contemplating getting into the trades or getting into some the pros and cons?
To get into my the why I feel this the way I feel, you have to go back down to there's part of the capitalism of today that's wrong. And the way it's wrong, I mean, I I could I could talk over myself for hours trying to explain my reasoning behind this. Is the reason why people want to go to college. The reason why people want to go to college and learn technology, lawyerism, get all these damn degrees that, quite frankly, 90% of rich people never got. When I mean that, I mean founders and business owners. I didn't do it. I didn't even go to high school. I was eighth grade two times. And but the reason why they're doing it is because they look at all the blue collars, and we're the poorest people there are, but we're the ones building America. Like, why aren't we rewarding what builds America? Why aren't we rewarding those that literally risk their lives every minute of every day? We're getting paid rock bottom pricing, wages, and
Yep.
we're the ones that build America. We build the buildings that these tech companies make 30-50% margins off of. So it's I don't mean to, I'm a little bit moderate when it comes to the economy and this,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand why people want to go to colleges, because they feel like that's their best chance to get being paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with it, but the way the market is, the way that we reward our employees in the blue collar industry is what drives people to not work here. And to be honest with you, I pay my guys, my average employees getting paid, my average long employee. Well, you have to be here a year before you get raised over $20 an hour, unless you already have the experience. But my average employee is getting paid about 30 to 35 bucks an hour,
Yep.
and we're paying a couple of them over 50. So, like, I practice what I preach here at Tecton. Pay your guys. But to go back to what I was saying is, I don't blame them, and they're trying to. They feel like that they're trying to give themselves the best opportunity to get paid the most. But it doesn't. The subs are not to be blamed for what we pay our guys. It's the owners. It's the banks. It's all those guys that just drive it all down, drive it all down, drive it all down,
Yeah.
and ultimately the Fed,
Right.
like the debt, the national debt.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree. I think there's an opportunity here right now, because I've seen the same thing for years. You just don't have new people coming into the workforce.
Mm-mm.
I think I saw a statistic the other day that for every plumber that quits, 10 more are needed, and there's
Yeah,
nobody coming into the workforce to fill their spot. But from the outside, my dad used to tell me, become a plumber. And I was like, no, I don't want to deal with that
they don't
crap.
get paid.
But now, as a business owner, things seem to be changing. My average wage for a journeyman plumber, I get charged 175 bucks an hour in the market that we used to be in, which
But
gives some.
that's subcontracting pricing. That's not
Correct.
what's going to the employee.
Correct. but the employees, on average, in were similar. They were getting around 35 to 40. It was starting to creep up. My brother runs a large electrical company in Santa Barbara, and his wages, they're in the $50 range for journeyman electrical. It's starting to creep up as well. And I just think with technology, AI, we talked a little bit about it. It just seems to leave some openings in the market where people need to focus more on the trades. And you're right, we need to reward them. We need to be able to get them enough dollars to pay for it, and to make them interested in getting into that industry, because it's not going away. It's the one thing AI, I guarantee you, is not going to replace. They're not going to be out there swinging the hammer anytime soon.
No, and that's actually like let's be positive for a minute because I went on a negative rant there for a minute, but AI is actually going to drive more money to this industry.
Yep.
Well, let me say it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to make this industry more paid more, or it's going to force people to come put their belts on more,
Yeah.
which would have the opposite effect. Because the more
Yeah.
employees available, the less we're going to pay them. Just it's cause and effect. It's the market, but
Right.
and so because I mean AI is going to replace a lot of office people, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
pencil pushers, and what are they going to do for work? Because companies
Right.
ain't going to keep paying them just because AI took their job.
Right.
That's not happening. So
Yeah.
I think I could go both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Time will tell. It could be an interesting. No doubt, the next couple of years is going to be pivotal. Uh,
But I know this. I'm adopting AI. I'm adopting
yeah.
technology. So
Yeah. You have to.
and like I love my employees and I will always be loyal to those that are loyal to me. But if they're not willing to adapt to technology and that, then they're unfortunately expendable.
Well, and the truth is, there's a lot of positives that come with it. There, and productivity and being able to track. And we were talking a lot about numbers, being able to keep track of all of that stuff. There's a lot that technology is offering to make that a lot easier to run a decent business. But you're right. They both sides of the table. There's positives and negatives. Uh, well, I really appreciate your time and spending some time and kind of going through kind of what's going back and forth in your industry. Um, a lot of what you're talking about is common throughout the U.S. Everybody's
Yep.
facing similar problems, but it's awesome to see companies that are still adapting and they're seeing growth, that they're still being able to maximize profit and still being able to run a decent business, because that provides for you, your family, for your employees. So good to hear that we got some positive coming, despite some of the negatives we hear on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Darren. It was fun. I hope your audience. I hope everyone got some value out of it. I love talking. I just but probably don't make a lot of sense a lot of times. Sometimes I do.